I'm Safi.
And I'm Mystic.
And this is Lore Together. This is the podcast where a husband and wife team get together and we talk about video game characters and storytelling and settings because it's one of the things we love to do together. We lore together.
Yes, and you maybe know why we're laughing. Safi has this method of jumping into the intro in the middle of a stupid pun or a joke.
Right. I'm sorry. I just love making Mystic laugh. That's my thing.
You also may hear in the background, we do have our little buddy here. He is a wee newborn.
He's so wee.
You may hear him. We try not to have him cry out in the middle of the episodes, but
Yeah.
you will hear him probably still making noise.
He's at the goo goo gaga phase, so we apologize if he decides that he has lore that he would like to add to the story. But if you would like to follow us outside of hearing our child in the background, we have a Twitter at Lore Together. We also have our email, loretogether@gmail.com, if you want to talk to us about the episodes we've already had, or if you have any suggestions for future episodes.
And we have a Patreon where you can follow us and support us. If you like this show, you can find that at patreon.com/loretogether. And you can get early access to our episodes, check out our bi-weekly streams, and also get early access to our mini episodes, which are ending up being more like regular length episodes at this point.
Yeah, mini is a suspect term
Yeah.
right now. But I think it's more like mini research for us. Like
Yeah.
the research is not nearly as bad. So
It's not a whole game. Here's a glimpse of one small little aspect sometimes.
right.
Also, if you are listening on a platform that allows you to rate or review, please do. We appreciate those. They help us a lot. And it's just great to hear people's feedback.
Yeah. You could do that either on iTunes or on Podchaser. And wherever you are and whatever you're doing, thank you for listening. We appreciate knowing that you like to lore together with us.
So let's get on with this episode. This is episode 22.
Yes.
And you've already had this one spoiled for you a little bit.
Yes.
And
Unfortunately, because I'm still at home with the wee one until
next
basically
episode. Yeah.
next episode. Yeah.
So anyway, let's just jump right into it then. We are going to do Beyond Good and Evil.
Yeah.
Which is, what do you know of this game to begin with?
I know there's a female protagonist that has a plucky pig sidekick. And I hear that it's got I know it has a really good fan following. I know I've heard of it a lot before, but I couldn't tell you what's it about, and other than the fact that she looks like a tomboy with a short haircut.
I'm not surprised you haven't heard like the details and stuff. This game was not very successful.
Which surprises me. I feel like it comes up on a lot of like
It is a cult classic.
a lot of
But it
listicles
Just
to
did
mention it.
not reach the amount of sales they wanted.
Is it like Psychonauts in that sense? In the popularity.
I've never played Psychonauts, so
Okay, never. Oh, all right,
But
I
I've
didn't
heard
mean
of
to.
it.
I haven't stumped you, but yeah, I feel like it's of that same vein.
yeah.
So
And there's a lot of games that kind of got lost in that era too, I feel.
I
But
think
anyway,
I think Psychonauts is from the same era, but
this
don't
is from
quote me on that.
2003.
Okay,
It was published by Ubisoft
Ubisoft.
or Ubisoft. It really depends on where you're from.
Is it the French Ubisoft and then the
I tried to look it
Anglo
up.
one
You
is-
could not. They asked people, "What's the name of the country? What's the name of the company that you work for?" And there was like 4 or 5 different pronunciations.
I am just as frustrated as Buddy sounds right now.
Director on the project was Michel Ancel,
Mm-hmm.
a highly influential game designer, most notable for the Rayman series of games.
Can I also just say, in case you don't know, Michel is a man's name
Yes.
in French. It is not like the Anglo Michelle, which is a female name.
Right. Well, he is seen as a highly influential game designer to the point that he was even knighted and given the
Ooh.
rank of
Chevalier.
Chevalier in the French Order of Arts and Letters.
Ooh, that sounds like a secret order that is now part of Assassin's Creed's story.
He was knighted alongside, and this was like the first time game designers were knighted. Mm-hmm. He was knighted alongside Shigeru Miyamoto.
Nice.
Who needs no introduction.
Right. If you're listening to this, and you don't know who Miyamoto is. Like,
He is the designer of or the lead designer of the Mario Brothers series and the Legend of Zelda series, or at least was the lead designer. He has been training other people to take over for him.
Right. I mean, I think after what's his name passed away, I would think
Iwata?
yeah.
Yeah.
And that was at least to me that felt unexpected. But
He was pretty young.
yeah.
The other person who was knighted then was Frederick Reynal, who was the designer for Alone in the Dark, which is probably the forefather of the survival horror genre.
Right. Okay. That's a pretty impressive group overall, I've got to say.
Yeah, so that knighting ceremony took place in 2006, so 3 years after this game came out. This universe is kind of fascinating. It includes anthropomorphic animal species alongside modern humans.
Right, because I know she has that pig sidekick, dude.
Yes. There's some awesome weird tech that we can get into. There's
Oh.
alien invaders, oppressive government forces, and yet it's presented in this very charming art style that's very indicative of its era.
Right. I think it's part of the reason I think of Psychonauts, not to say that they're the same genre of game, but a lot of the same aesthetic, I think.
Yeah.
Very
Well,
like that quirky cartoon thing.
2003 is kind of smack dab in the middle of the second generation of fully 3D games. Like you kind of had a
Right.
couple 3D games on SNES, but like 64 was 64 and PlayStation was like the first time you had 3D.
Exactly.
This is the next generation after that where things are getting a little bit more polished.
And yeah, and they were realizing that since they weren't yet up to the point of realism.
Oh
that-
yeah, this is before what I think of as the gritty reality of the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3,
Yeah.
and Nintendo Wii. Okay, maybe not that one.
That's why I bought the Wii. I was there for the whimsy. But yeah, this is before it was all a bunch of Call of Duty clones, or at least that's my
Where
cynical.
everything went brown and gray and, desaturated and has to be guys with big beards and stuff.
Right. Like I played Kirby on the N64 and that was like fun and charming and it took advantage of what you could do with it or
I'm trying to imagine a gritty Kirby game, and it's kind of horrifying.
Oh. That's why they had if Death Battle, which used to be Screw Attack's Death Battle, but now
yeah.
that's all they do is Death Battle.
Screw it. Is Screw Attack around even anymore? This is like going old.
No, they've rebranded as Death Battle because that was like their most popular franchise.
Oh.
So they don't exist in the same way anymore. But that I remember that they had Kirby fight from Dragon Ball Z, also a pink Boo. And like so they had first fight Boo in his younger, more infantile form, and then the more severe Boo. Spoilers, Kirby won.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, he ate Boo. That's like they drag it out so it's this beautiful epic animated fight, and then he's just like sucks him up and eats him because Kirby's adorable and all powerful. That's the existential fear of having a Kirby in your life.
All right, so let's get on to this game. This game follows Jade, a 20-year-old human woman living on Hillys in a lighthouse with a bunch of orphans where she works as a photojournalist.
So she's not an orphan, but she works with the orphans.
She is an orphan.
Oh.
Kind of.
Oh?
I don't think her parents I don't remember if her parents are dead. I don't believe they are.
Oh.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
The game is a third-person action-adventure game. Jade has a variety of tools and weapons at her disposal since there's combat, stealth, puzzles, and even you have companions who will get into the gameplay and help with things. And it's kind of nice. It's context sensitive. Like you'll walk up to a button, you'll hit a button, they'll go to the other button, so you can both hit the buttons at the same time type stuff. And
right.
Or there's all sorts of little puzzles and stuff like that. And Jade has a couple things. She has her Daijo staff, which is basically a thing to do fancy martial arts.
Is it just a big long staff?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
She has her camera, which is very useful when dealing with shady government organizations.
Yes.
Lastly, she has her gyrodisc launcher, which is kind of a multifaceted item. You can hit switches, you can hit creatures, you get the idea there.
Yeah.
Before we take a look at the specific characters and dig into the story itself, we're telling here, let's run down a couple of the factions, which I feel like we're doing Just Cause with factions.
No. Oh my gosh. Well, it wasn't hard to follow all the factions in Just Cause, so I assume this will not be that bad.
It will not be that bad. The first one we're going to touch on is the DOMs, DOMZ.
The Doms. Okay, so that just sounds like a bunch of dominatrixes who drink Zima, because this is 2003. So
If you're wondering what a dominatrix is, ask your parents. The Doms is the collective name for a parasitic alien species that has waged war over Hillys for the past 20 years, setting their base on Hillys' orbiting moon, Selene. They attack the planet every 14 hours relentlessly, usually with violent meteor showers. They're very skeletal appearance. The Doms come in various shapes and sizes and thrive off of the energy of other living beings.
So they're energy vampires, essentially. Okay.
When they first attack Hillys, the Alpha sections take charge, although their tactics prove ineffective at defending the land. Hence why the attacks continue. The Alpha section is an interplanetary mercenary group led by General Keck, K-E-H-C-K, Keck.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying the spelling, because, yeah.
The mercenaries are considered the heroes and defenders of Hillys and are remarkably praised for their campaign against the Doms by a vast majority of the Hillian population. Although their motives are vague, they were able to earn the respect of the majority of the Hillian population, resulting in taking over the Hillian government and driving them into exile.
Wait, driving the Doms into exile?
Driving the government into exile.
So now the Hillians are ruled
by the Alpha section.
Because you, since my government couldn't take care of the enemy and you could now become
It's a coup.
our it's a coup. Yeah.
There's that word again, coup.
Oh, cuckoo, cachoo. Yeah.
And this has ultimately left the Hillian army and the governor's power diminished and unregarded.
Exactly. Okay.
Lastly, we have the Iris Network. It is an underground rebel organization that dispenses uncensored information regarding the war against the Doms and the betrayal of key military, governmental, and corporate entities through the newspaper Iris. I do not know what Iris stands for. They never tell you.
But it's supposed to be an acronym?
They always capitalize it, but they never tell you what it is. It could just be a cool word they picked, because opening an iris.
Opening, yeah, exactly. Oh, what's the name of that faction again?
The Iris Network.
The Iris Network. Okay, so making sure everybody sees what they need to see. That does make a lot of sense. Yeah, I like that.
The network operates in more than 13 different systems across the galaxy. As of late, the network is portrayed to be a terrorist group due to their belief of a supposed conspiracy between the Doms and the interplanetary mercenary group Alpha Section.
You know, it wouldn't be the first time something like that happened, and I just, especially considering the climate we're in right now, I'm skeptical of any ruling power.
Jade works as a photographer when we meet her. She makes money doing assignments for clients. Basically, someone calls, hey, we need a photographer. Take a picture of this, take a picture of that.
Do my wedding.
Yeah.
We need this for an article, that kind of stuff. Okay.
They never quite get to that point, but that's the assumption. She has a company called Jade Reporting.
Oh, so she's probably more of kind of like a reporting.
Yeah.
Because there are photographers who specifically are just like, do you need me to take pictures of something for a newspaper article?
So basically, she's working as a photographer. She lives on a lighthouse with Paige.
Okay.
P-E-Y''J.
Why couldn't they just spell it like we know how to say Paige?
He is a sus sapien male, swine human.
I know you made up that phrase, and I just want you to know I'm still not happy with it.
I didn't make it up, actually. That's the listing on the wiki.
That's what they sapien relates to primates. It just doesn't feel right. Okay.
But anyway, he is Jade's adoptive uncle.
Okay, so she's got a pig for an uncle.
Yeah. He built the lighthouse shelter after adopting Jade in 2415 and moving to Hillys. He is a whiz with engineering and fixing stuff.
Okay, cool. So he's a pig engineer uncle. All right.
Another person we have is Double H.
Double H?
We'll get there.
That sounds like a pant size, and it makes me really... Or no, well, there's also probably Double H is a bra size as well, but that sounds like torture.
Double H is another companion. These are the two companions. Sorry, I should have prefaced that.
Mm-hmm.
He is a human male with a huge chin, kind of like a Bruce Campbell type chin.
Oh, is that where the Double H comes from?
Everyone just calls him Double H.
But it stands for like...
It's his name.
It's his initials are Double H, okay.
He used to serve in the Hillian army as a sergeant.
Okay.
He left the army, mainly due to the actions of the Alpha section, and is now an Iris agent. He spends a lot of time in-game shouting the title and selected quotes of a military textbook he highly values called Carlson and Peters.
Okay, so it's basically his version of The Art of War. And
It's it's a regulation book that he kind of followed and remembers and keeps with him, and it's kind of his honor code.
that just sounds weird to me. That just kind of reminds me of there's like Black's Law book where
Think of
there
it.
was I think that was a textbook, but written by somebody with the name Black. It sounds like he's following an honor code that's based on a textbook, essentially.
Probably think of it like rules of acquisitions from Star Trek.
Okay.
Here's the guidelines you should live by, and his is more honorable than that. But
Right.
and these are the companions who join us on missions. There's only 2 of them. We meet a bunch of other allies, though, including a holographic AI who is living in our inventory. He is our inventory.
He is the inventory.
His name is Secundo, sorry, and he digitizes items. So you hold an item up, he digitizes it so you can get it back later. It's kind of how they manage that you have all this stuff with you.
So it's a holographic bag of holding.
Yep.
Okay.
He also,
I can handle that.
as an AI, he provides some advice and feedback as we continue the adventure. So, well, let's start the adventure. We open the game at the lighthouse shelter where Jade is meditating with one of the orphans, a Capra sapien, goat humanoid, boy named Fen.
Okay. Which I feel like Fen sounds appropriate for some reason.
Suddenly, the Doms attack. Jade tells the orphans to get into the shelter and hits the button to raise the lighthouse shield.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns on, only to turn off. Out of credits for the power.
They didn't pay their light bill, essentially, or?
They don't got much money. The Doms abduct the orphans, and Jade runs after them and rescues them with the help of Paige, who tosses Jade her staff before she can fight the boss, the Dom's Spirit Eater, and kind of frees everybody. After the battle, the Alpha sections. After the battle, the Alpha sections come to, quote, save the day. There's a big media thing, and like, oh, the Alpha sections are here. Miss, what do you think? And then Paige is just like, you guys showed up late again, blah, blah.
Right. So we already know something is so Alpha Section is acting a little sus, as
Right.
the kids like to say, because
And the media's immediate, like, we got to go, bye.
oh yeah, the media doesn't want to cover the part where
There's any discrepancy with the official story.
right.
So as they leave, Jade
This is
collapses.
very much like Just Cause. Whoa, this is a little too much like Just Cause.
As they leave, Jade collapses.
She's tired? Or she's injured?
So after the fight with the Dom Spirit Eater, Secundo does it kind of bring up, like, you digitize this thing, the thing drops, and he goes, be careful, Jade. I found you had some weird readings in your psychokarma.
Your psychokarma?
There's a tiny bit of spirituality to this, or not spirituality, but supernatural aspect to some of this. So
Okay.
it's not a major thread, but it is part of the world.
So does this function kind of like in the sense of chi, like everything has a certain energy?
It's not.
Or?
It's never actually explained what the psychokarma thing is. I think it's just like, hey, you got stressed out there, and it looks weird.
Right, so something's fluctuating that should be steady.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jade recovers
Okay.
in the lighthouse, and after she recovers, she's lamenting the lack of credits for power and therefore the shield. And because the shield's not up, there's these basically wild flying creatures can be a nuisance. Mm-hmm. Secunda pops up with a hot tip. The Science Center is looking for photos of the different species on the planet, sentient and non-sentient included, that would be impacted by the ongoing war. Basically do a few shots of the animals and people at the lighthouse, because they're all animal people.
Right.
And then send it to the Science Center, and they would pay you for whatever.
Okay.
So Jade basically does this.
Gallivants around and gets the pictures.
Takes a picture of, some of the anthropomorphic characters.
So I assume like Paige and Fen get their pictures taken.
Woof.
There's a literally character named Woof.
Woof is actually a dog. He's not a humanoid.
I was going to say, if you're telling me there's a person whose name is Woof, that's just the saddest existence.
Let me run down the ones that I remember for all the different races. We have I don't remember all the different names, but we have pigs, pig people, goat people, rhino people,
Okay.
panda people, shark people.
Shark people?
There's only 2 in the game, but yes.
Do they live in the sea or on
No.
land? This makes no sense. They have gills. They're supposed to breathe in water, not air.
Oh, you're going to get really annoyed later when I tell you about the rhino people.
Oh, no, guys. Oh, no. I'm going to ruin everybody's fun.
So anyway, after getting the money and getting the power back on, Jade gets a notification from a client, a Mr. DeCastellac, who wants to meet her on Black Isle.
DeCastellac. That's a weird name.
They head out.
Couldn't they just name him Mr. Cadillac? It's got the same,
They
cadence.
do call him Mr. DeCadillac at one point too.
Nice. Okay.
So they head out, and here's where you're gonna hate me. Actually, they head out, but the hovercraft breaks down, and they get a friendly tow from Mama Ghost Garage, where a trio of Rastafarian rhinos run the shop.
No.
No. The funny thing is, they do kind of. It does seem to be so. Breaking the timeline here, there is a sequel that they're working on.
Okay.
And the idea of the Rastafarian rhinos is not so weird when you see the mix of how all the other characters talk. It's a very prevalent dialect, actually.
Okay. My only thing is that
Rastafarian is a specific thing.
yeah, it's a specific thing.
The only reason I say that is one of the rhinos is wearing a Rasta hat with dreads.
Okay. I just mentioned that because a lot of times people think Rastafarianism is Jamaica, and it's like, no, Jamaica actually used to be a British Commonwealth,
I don't
run
know
country.
I don't know if they
It's
follow Rastafarianism.
Yeah, and
But-
which is an actual religion. If you do not know, Rastafarianism is a faith. The reason that a lot of them wear dreadlocks is because they happen to be predominantly African American and they do not cut their hair. It's one of the easiest way to keep your hair long.
I just the only reason I call them Rastafarian is they talk with Jamaican accents, and
Yeah.
one of them has a Rastafarian hat.
So
with
one
dreads.
of them is at least presenting as Rasta.
Right.
Okay.
So Jade upgrades the hovercraft using the pearl that she had got. It was a. I skipped this when I wrote this. I'm sorry. The item that she got that she digitized from the Spirit Eater, she got a pearl basically, and pearls are kind of a currency that you can use at Mama Go's.
Oh, okay.
So basically, she uses the pearl to barter, and then they head off to Black Isle, fighting a Dom sea serpent along the way. This will happen numerous times.
A Dom's sea serpent?
Yeah, it's basically the Doms can also corrupt creatures sometimes too.
They corrupt it like, is it a disease or is it just...
We'll get there.
Okay, nanotech? I don't know. There's just so many different things I'm theorizing now.
So, at Black Isle, they meet Mr. DeCastelac's manservant, who relays the mission for Jade.
Wait. We have Doms, and somebody has a manservant.
It's not man. I used manservant because that's what they said in the wiki. He literally introduces himself as my employer, Mr. DeCastelac. He doesn't actually...
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's probably more like a valet.
He's a valet, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Valet?
some people say valet, some people say valet, whatever. Okay, we're trying to keep it kid friendly, but the Doms and the manservant.
Doms is also DOM capital Z. It's not like Doms. It's like Doms.
Yeah, but that just sounds like a Limp Biscuit
Fair.
dominatrix cover band. That's what it sounds like to me, or something.
So in the Black Isle, this is the mission basically. In Black Isle, in the ruins of this mining complex and stuff, there are female and male Doms creatures. If they mate, they will overwhelm the local environment. So the ministry needs photographic proof of them being there to take action.
Okay.
That's Jade's goal. Get the photographic proof of the creatures. She discovers after taking the photo, though, like fighting, it's a long way down through a bunch of different things.
So right now, this sounds like a combination of Just Cause and Pokemon Snap.
A little bit. I can see that.
All right.
Just Cause is definitely not as message focused.
Right. I understand, yeah.
So it's kind of funny. You get down there, you see the creatures, you take a picture, and then it turns out that they're one large creature. It's its eyes, and it kind of pulls up and looks at you.
Uh-oh.
And then roars, because of course it is. It is a large Doms creature called a Pterolymix. Pterolymx?
Pterolymx.
Yeah. It has that silent P at the beginning, so it kind of threw me.
Oh.
Defeating it, I'm brushing past a lot of, dungeons are not story. Defeating it, the manservant, the
Oh my
valet,
gosh.
literally drives into, it's all flying cars and stuff and hovercrafts and stuff. Literally,
Oh.
like flies into the cavern where you just fought, and it's just Paige and Jade are just like, what the heck? But he kind of opens his window. And they're like, we got to talk to your employer. And then he goes, I have a confession to make. And then he's in this big, long, like floating Cadillac.
Mm-hmm.
The roof opens and this small little taxi comes out.
What?
And he reveals that Mr. de Castellec never existed.
Oh.
And he tells him hop in, and he starts driving them out of the ruins.
So that was a
And-
cover story for something.
Yes, this is all what he calls a situation test. His name is Han. He is a member of the Iris Network.
Okay.
He states that the Alpha sections are working with the Doms instead of fighting them and have been behind the recent mass kidnappings.
Really? Okay. So do we know how this alliance started, or has it just always been this way?
We'll get there.
Okay.
According to Han, more than 13 other active cells operate within the network across the galaxy, and the Doms and the Alpha sections have, quote, sucked the lifeblood out of Hillys exactly as they've done on countless others.
Okay, so it's kind of like a locust strategy.
It is unknown whether the Doms and the Alpha section invade multiple systems at the same time. Thus, the fight against the Doms and the Alpha section being their sole mission at Iris is kind of unlikely. It's like you guys have 13 active cells. The Doms and the Alpha sections aren't probably in all of them at the time. So, like, what do you do? Probably the network is just a rebellion that informs the masses of things they aren't supposed to know about. You know, afflictions, injustices occurring in planet societies, or
Right.
that type of stuff. Han tells Jade to meet him and the Iris Network in the city at the Akuda Bar.
Akuda bar?
Akuda.
Akuda.
Yeah.
Ooh, Barracuda?
There he informs her of the Doms and Alpha sections 3-part sapient species trafficking operation. That's a tongue twister, actually.
3-part sapient... I can't even say that. It's slowing it down. 3-part sapient species trafficking operation. Why was that so hard? I know how to say all those words, and that was just difficult. It was like an unintentional tongue twister that you just.
First, the kidnapped people are brought to the Neutrophils factory, where they are tortured into submission.
Oh.
Next, they're shipped to the slaughterhouses, where they're created and shipped to the Dom's Alpha section's base on Hillys' moon, Selene.
Selene. Why does it have to have such a nice word, nice name, I should say, when it's doing something so awful?
Well, that's the moon. I mean, our moon is Luna.
Right. Fair. Okay.
Jade's first official assignment as part of the Iris Network is to infiltrate the Neutrophils factory and take photographic evidence of the tortured victims, the Alpha section's involvement, and finally rescue their agent, Double H,
All right.
who went missing while investigating the factory. Jade is also informed that she'll need a code name to sign her papers with, and she chooses Shawnee.
Shawnee. Right.
After upgrading the hovercraft, they head to the factory and then head inside. I'm brushing over some sea battles and stuff, but...
Okay, so there's some more serpents that we
Yeah.
fight and all of that. Okay.
I'm brushing past a lot of small things that happen.
Right. Again, we're focusing on the lore itself, which is right now seems to be more of the story.
After getting separated from Paige inside the facility, literally Paige has to hit a button to make an elevator work, and Jade goes up the elevator. So,
That's wow. Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Jade discovers that Double H has been hooked into a Dom's torture machine.
Okay.
Photographing it, Jade manages to get a warrant for all Alpha Section codes in the Neutrophils factory, courtesy of the governor of Hillys, who's kind of like in exile, quote unquote. Using one such code, she gets a gyrodisc launcher.
Gyro disc. So, okay. Sidebar. Gyro. I have a history with the word gyro.
This one's actually gyro.
I believe you.
It's not a Eurodisc launcher, though.
Okay.
That does sound tasty.
So, all right. So in Chicago, I guess it's Greek/Mediterranean based sandwich meat dish that you put in a thick pita is called a gyro because it's kind of supposed to be based on the Greek, even though it's spelled Gyro. I've always heard it as either, sometimes you hear gyro, but usually...
Gyro is what I usually use.
Yeah. But I've also heard euro because that's a little bit closer to the actual Greek.
Those are both acceptable.
Those are both acceptable in Chicago. I went to school out on the East Coast, and literally the first week I'm there as a freshman, somebody asked, "Oh yeah, don't you love eating gyros?" And I just remember looking at that woman in horror, being like, "Oh, we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto."
Nope.
Like this, I was horrified. But anyway, we're using gyro, the actual word that actually means the right thing, not a
You're launching a
mispronunciation.
disc with an arm
Yes,
cannon or arm glove or whatever it is. Yeah.
because unfortunately, when I hear gyro, I think of gyrating, and
Which would also be accurate.
yeah.
It is a gyroscopic disc basically.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So like my brain at that point exploded, but I'm glad we're using it the correct way.
so basically we use it to fire at the thing that's holding Double H in torture and free Double H.
Yay.
His brain unfortunately is a bit scrambled from this. Not you
Yikes.
freeing him, just the fact that he was being tortured.
Well, yeah, the trauma does that.
In fact, he even calls her Miss Tyrus because he's misunderstanding her when she says Iris.
Oh, like he totally.
He
Oh
thinks
wow.
it's, yeah, and he doesn't even know his own name. She goes, "Are you Double H?" He goes, "Double H, double Z. What does it matter?" Like,
Well, yeah, this disassociation sometimes is a coping mechanism when you're in a traumatic situation. So that makes sense.
but he knows that Jade saved his life. Literally, he says, "Another 10 minutes, I would have been dead."
Right.
Like,
Yeah, that's
and so
instinctual.
he swears a debt to her.
Aw.
He helps her escape the room by bashing through a wall and ending up falling over into the sewers, which separates them because
Okay, so I rescued you only to be separated again.
Yeah.
Yay.
Jade then ends up in a fight with a creature called the Reaper, a giant dom cyclops. There were hints
Don't
of
fear
this.
the Reaper.
There were hints of this creature before Paige and Jade got separated, even, but it wasn't story relevant. It just kind of was. Yeah, there's a creature here, and it wrecked this elevator. We have to fix it. Okay.
Ooh, there's a monster, and now
Yeah.
you know what it is. Okay.
So it should be like Paige shows up and helps fight it, kind of. The thing grabs him and you fight it.
Okay, he's supposed to save you, and then he ends up becoming the victim, and then suddenly
Yeah.
Paige is the damsel in distress.
It should be noted through this whole mission that Paige has been trying to call it off, being like, we should, it's kind of dangerous in here. We should go back, blah, 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 type of stuff. To the point that he is withholding a mission disc that Jade received.
Oh, that's rude. He's doing that. I'm being the protective paternal influence, but I'm doing it the wrong way kind of thing. Okay.
Again, we will get there. There's a lot of stuff that there's a lot of secrets in this game, is the thing.
Yeah, I get that. That's like the 5th time you've said that. It's
So Jade heads off to explore on her own because Paige can't actually get up into the grading she has to walk through to get a photo of the alpha sections overseeing the kidnapping and loading them into the unmarked ships for the slaughterhouses and stuff.
okay.
While she's getting the photo, Paige is captured by alpha sections.
No.
Jade runs back, but is unable. These are all actually really well done cutscenes, I feel, too.
Okay.
Jade runs back, but is unable to get to him. Literally, you see him being dragged away, and the door slams in front of her.
Oh, Paige tries to catch her? Or was it?
No, Jade tries to get Paige.
Oh, Paige is the one. I'm sorry. Because
I may have misspoken.
Yeah, so Paige is the one who gets captured by Alpha, and Jade is trying to catch. Okay, either I misheard you or whatever. Okay.
She eventually finds security footage of him being prepped for transport.
Ooh,
Like-
that sounds awful.
Well, like he's in a box and being, like yelling at them and stuff. But
It's my pig in a box.
you do find his shoes and like other stuff nearby in a not a locker. It's like a cabinet, but yeah, you find his shoes. He has special shoes. I should have mentioned this. One of the ways that he helps you is he has rocket boots that can kind of like make him do a ground pound. So you
Nice.
find his rocket boots.
Can you wear his rocket
No.
boots? Yeah, I figured because he doesn't have the same size feet. There's just no way.
Eventually,
But they put his stuff aside, so I'm assuming that they wanted to
they
keep
make
it for
they
themselves.
make a point of saying we got his boots and whatever off, and so yeah.
Okay.
And you grab his boots.
Okay.
Eventually, Jade sneaks on into the factory control room. There she finds the finest proof of the Alpha sections working with the Doms, a single guard and head of security working the controls of the factory, one of which is not wearing his helmet and thus is revealed to have Dom's spores implanted into his body.
Oh.
Not they're kind of like insectoid, so it's just a creepy thing.
Okay.
And he's mutated to the point where he is pretty much no longer human at this point.
Yuck.
So Jade photographs the guard and sends the images to the Iris network.
So they have something like the internet, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
After a short amount of time, she finally finds Paige, though she is not able to save him before he's loaded into a ship and sent to the slaughterhouses.
No.
A spirit eater arrives to monitor the area, and the guard from before states that everything is on schedule. However, the spirit eater spots Jade, and to both get rid of her and punish the guard for his incompetence, the spirit eater rips out his spores, killing the guard and fusing the spores with the machinery to create a boss. Basically, this boss creature. It's like a big,
It's like a computer.
It's like a mechanical thing, yeah.
A computer spore. Is it? I have. What is it? There's crabs that just collect things off the ocean floor and like attach it to them. I have this image of like a robotic crab doing something like that.
Episode of Star Trek Lower Decks where the computer goes haywire and is like grabbing stuff to add to itself.
We must be smarter. Yes. Okay. All right. I've got a good image. Okay.
So Double H arrives, finds his way through the sewers and stuff.
Does he have his memory back yet?
No, I don't think he ever really gets it quite back.
Aw.
And together with Jade, they defeat the Dom's machine. However, they soon discover a bigger problem. The Doms have infected Double H with spores while he was in captivity.
No.
Double H is able to use the equipment in his suit to buy some time. He kind of has like an armor suit and stuff. But they have to get him to the Iris headquarters. Once they're there, he's injected with an antidote. He's fine.
Oh, thank God. And I'm sorry, guys. You're hearing a lot of me going, no, but I can't help it. Like, there's just a lot of like high stakes craziness going on right now.
All right. Speaking of craziness, Jade gets her next mission, infiltrating the slaughterhouses where Paige is currently being held to find more evidence of the smuggling operation.
Well, that's convenient.
Well, to be fair.
Look, I get it. The Iris Network was probably going to do that anyway, but conveniently, her uncle is also there, so.
Not as convenient as landing on the boat after a nuke goes off behind you.
Oh, and then there's margaritas in your pocket to celebrate.
That's a reference to Just Cause, which was episode 8?
18 and 19, I think, yeah.
She's just being sent there to get more information of the smuggling operation and the Dom's alliance with the Alpha Section. Thanks to Jade's report from the factory, the Hillys have spontaneously showed their support in the form of a rich supply of pearls. Literally go into like this room and there's just like a ton of pearls.
Ooh.
Double H informs Jade that the only way into the Alpha Section slaughterhouse is through a secret entrance in one of the courses for the races run through an otherwise abandoned district of the city.
Like drag races or something like that? Okay.
Kind of. Or like pod racing.
Well, pod racing was more official. They had an official course.
Yeah,
it was
fair.
just kind of naturally formed. I'm thinking more of Fast and Furious kind of
No, it's more like
racing.
Batman and Robin when they do that motorcycle race.
Was that... Oh, that movie. Schumacher, no! Schumacher, why?
With another upgrade of the hovercraft, they're able to enter the races and eventually find the secret entrance during the third race.
Yeah.
While inside the slaughterhouse, Jade finds evidence of the kidnapped victims being tortured and packaged, as well as cloning chambers containing Dom's sarcophagi. Sarcophagi kind of how they kidnap people.
Oh, okay.
On the way back to the city, the area is bombarded with a third Dom sea serpent attack, but by this point, we're just getting good enough to deal with them that it's not even a problem right now.
Yeah, this feels like a lot of... As much as this is not a JRPG, but a lot of JRPGs, like your first boss fight ends up being like the main enemy after like level 10 or 20.
Yeah, I remember Scars Arcadia did that. The first boss you fight is just a normal enemy by the last dungeon.
That's exactly what I was thinking of, yeah.
Back at the Iris Den, Jade meets with the governor of Hillys, who gives her a key card to the Alpha Section's most secure areas. After that,
Wait, how did he get that? Does he say? Oh, okay.
I think she has access because she's also the one who decrypts all the codes that you take pictures of. She has the ability to decrypt them.
So there's some deep infiltration happening. How many Bothans had to die for that information?
There are goat people.
Exactly.
After that, the team suddenly receives a call from the Iris leader, Wild Boar, who Jade recognizes as Paige. And the funny thing is, nobody else figured this out because everyone uses code names.
Oh, so he was supposed to be infiltrating the slaughterhouse.
No, He had disappeared for weeks, and they didn't know why.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm missing. I'm okay. So he'd been gone for a while and then came back. She didn't know why, and it turns out he was wild boar.
Yeah. Paige tells everyone that he is being held on the moon and tells Jade. Basically, he doesn't tell Jade. He says, "Get this message to Jade,
Okay.
your new reporter." So it's like he's kind of setting stuff up in a weird way.
Huh.
Basically tells Jade to read the M disc he gave her at the Nutripills factory, the mission disc that he was like, "Yeah, I was keeping this from you." It's not a mission disc she received. It's something that he's been holding like for when he needs to give it to her.
Okay. So he's not withholding information
Right.
from her. Okay.
He's playing. It feels weird to say he's playing a long game, but he's a good guy.
He's playing cricket.
Kind of.
Yeah. This reminds me of the cricket metaphor in the movie The Crying Game. Children, do not ask your parents about The Crying Game. Do not watch that movie until you're old enough.
He basically look at the M disc and then quote find the ship. Based on the information given to them by Paige, they form a plan. Find Paige's ship.
Okay.
He had to come to Hillys somehow.
Yeah.
With Jade.
Yeah.
Go to the Alpha Section's Dom's moon base and broadcast Jade's report from their long-range transmitter to the people of Hillys, thus prompting the Hillians to rise up and join Iris in a final assault.
So, living in a 2020 world, it feels so quaint that the way to start revolution is to spread information via reporter. It just is not. It's just because of the way the world is currently now. I feel like in the future we could get back to that, but you're right. It's just weird as in a 2020 perspective to be like, oh, if we give them the information, everything will be fine. And it's not in certain times of history, that's just not how it works.
Yeah. Jade discovers that the bottom of Paige's jet boots each contain a code that, when entered into two separate terminals, unveils a secret hangar where a partially damaged ship known as the Beluga is kept.
The Beluga?
Yeah.
Like a beluga whale? So they have beluga whales and they're not people? Now I'm just heartbroken. We had a chance for cute little beluga quaggan-like creatures. And I feel cheated, but we have shark people that live on the land.
Well,
Mystic. What the hell?
Well, quaggins, like when for those of you who don't know, quaggins are a race, a non-playable race in Guild Wars 2. But when they get into combat mode, they get all like creepy and stuff.
Oh yeah, I remember.
But
I remember
they're
that.
Very cute.
Oh my gosh, they're adorable. Quaggin is a pirate. Yar! Yeah, and they do that third person speaking, and it's adorable. It's so cute.
And the funny thing is saying that like Jay discovers in the bottom of Paige's jet boots that there's a code. It's literally like giant letters on the bottom of his boots.
So anybody could have found that.
Well, you wouldn't know what to do with it, but
this feels like half of the true crime stories that I hear. I said, well, she thought she was going to get away with it, but it turns out she had worn her special Louis Vuitton boots that were only sold 5 pairs within the 3-mile radius of the city. And we found the prints in the snow with blood on them. Yeah, just stuff like that. It feels like that.
The Beluga unfortunately needs a secondary stabilizer, so Jade and Double H head to Mama Go's garage to get one.
Okay.
Before they return, the Alpha sections have attacked the lighthouse, destroyed it, and taken the kids.
So now we have to save the kids as well as Paige.
Jade kind of is like in despair at this point.
Well, yeah, I mean...
And she kind of sits in the ruins of the lighthouse with Wolf.
Aww.
Talking to him about how wrong he was that he could protect everyone there. Basically, she's projecting.
Right. Jade thought she could do it, and she really couldn't do it by herself.
And it's actually like a tear-jerking scene, I found. I found it a very well, quote, acted scene.
Yeah. And I think you say she's a 20-year-old character.
Mm-hmm.
That's a folly that a lot of people that age do. Mm-hmm. It takes, because you're at that invincible phase, and it takes something that big for a lot of people to realize that they're not invincible.
Yeah. Double H walks up to her and says, "We have to go."
Yeah. And
she's not having that.
Mm-hmm.
She's dismissive of it, and he's insisting, like, the kids are alive, that Paige is alive, like, we have to go.
Yeah, there's a chance to save him if you don't delay.
And so he walks out and then kind of hears Jade moving and she's back up. So it's like, yeah, that kind of worked.
Yeah.
It's true. I have to keep going. Jade and Double H fight the rest of the Alpha sections in the island and then head to the Beluga.
I'm still pissed off that there's no Beluga people.
There may be in a future game.
Beluga are my favorite whales. They're adorable and I love them. I'm just projecting.
Jade and Double H go to the Selene base on the moon. Go to the base on the... Whatever. They go to the base on the moon.
Okay.
There, Jade finds Paige's corpse.
No.
And, like, you see him in this weird... It's not like a crystal thing. It's like an amber egg type thing and this black thing. It's weird. And you have to, like, basically do this weird puzzle thing that unlocks the walls around him. And then Double H is kind of like, okay, and just, like, headbutts the thing and breaks it. And Paige just goes... like, just falls.
No.
And he is...
all that work for... Oh.
He is drained of his... He is just drained and ashen and just dead.
No.
And so
No.
Jade is there, like, holding his hand and, like, now kind of pissed off.
All the no's.
And she decides to finish what she started and avenge Paige. Like, she's like, okay, now you've made me mad.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Now he'll have no fury like a Jade scorned.
she scouts on, coming across the leader of the Alpha sections, General Keck, consulting the high priest of the Doms. Like, literally, they're face-to-face talking. And
Okay,
yeah.
so now you're saying that there's like a high priest. Now I'm thinking like it's the Doms or Zerg. That's not what I'm thinking.
So, after taking a photograph of them together, Jade attempts to return to the ship, and on her way, she is informed by Iris that Paige is still alive and just messaged them.
What?
She goes back to meet Paige, and when she asks how he's alive, and this is the one part I'm like, what? He explains that Jade always had a literal line, prodigious power deep within her, and she used it accidentally to bring him back to life.
What? I don't know how I feel about that.
But we'll get to this. It's not out of the blue. There is kind of like an undercurrent here. I mean, it is out of the blue here, but
Right.
there is a reasoning for it. It's not just like, you have this ability,
Okay, it's not just like, well, we can't be too sad, because
Right.
I hate it when there's certain stories where they feel like it's made for a younger audience, where they're like, you can't make it too sad, and it's like, no, when you're younger, you can deal with people passing away in certain ways. You don't want to make it too traumatic. You can't have like a children's version of the Saw movies. But,
I mean, if you don't want to make it too traumatic, you wouldn't have killed Paige to begin with.
right, that's true, I guess.
So the three of them sneak into the transmitter room where Secundo hacks into the systems. Literally, he makes the computer call him General Secundo.
Okay.
Like, he just basically... It's a pretty fun scene, I feel. But he uploads all of Jade's photos onto the very screens that the Alpha sections have been using to broadcast their propaganda. And literally, like, you cut to a scene where it cuts from General Keck's message to, like, our heroes and, like, their pictures, and they're telling the story now and everything.
Oh, wow.
And literally, it's just people like, boo, the Alpha section. Like, they just rip the TV down, like, they knock the TV down.
Oh, that's funny.
So with this, the Hillys rise against the Alpha sections and prepare to launch an assault on the Selene base.
Okay.
In a last-ditch effort to kill Jade and her team, General Keck activates the transmitter's auto-destruct.
It's always the auto-destruct.
But that then fails, so he fights them in a massive military ship with a tractor beam. Eventually, they sink the ship, but the tractor beam is still active, keeping them there.
Okay.
So they have to basically get out and go deactivate the tractor beam. So we actually get onto the ship, and we go to try to deactivate the tractor beam. General Keck is actually there, but it's not like a fight. You've already had the fight.
Right.
So he's there dying.
Oh. Okay.
In all this tubing and stuff, and
Gross.
yeah,
Okay.
he dies. Jade turns off the tractor beam. Jade, Double H, and Paige all go to confront the Dom's high priest.
Mm-hmm.
The priest tells everyone present that Paige has been lying to Jade for years.
What?
She is a vessel. She was created to contain the power that the Doms seek. Like, she is kind of like a safeguard.
Oh, no. That's
And
great.
she is the reason that the Doms have been attacking Hillys and killing its people to stay alive. They're basically looking for her because she is like a power source for them.
Wow.
And
So wait, was Paige lied to her in a sense of to protect her?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
So following is a long fight against the priest where Jade has to fight Dom's clones of her two companions.
Yikes.
She finally defeats the priest. And then, using her power, revives all the peoples of Hillys. And that is our end of the story. But not entirely, because in a post-credit scene,
Okay.
Paige is looking over a rebuilt lighthouse when suddenly he begins to convulse and a Dom spore erupts from his hand.
Yikes. What? No. And that's where it ends?
That's where it ends.
And because it wasn't that successful, we did not get the sequel
Well,
acknowledging that?
Originally they had an idea for it to be a trilogy, and it just didn't become successful enough. But this came out in 2003.
Right.
It was never a smash hit,
Right.
but it was a cult classic.
well, yeah, that
It had a huge cult following.
it is. I can it's that weird kind of quirky where I can see why it's a story about first of all, it has a female protagonist, which was not happening a lot back then. I mean, it doesn't even happen that much now.
Well, eventually, Ubisoft slowly started to work on, like, let's revisit this universe. And they've hinted at Beyond Good and Evil 2 for years. I
I'm
think
sure.
2006, 2007, 2008, like every single year or two or three, there was another, like, oh, here's one image that might be from, like, a leaked image here, a leaked image there. Here's concept art that somebody put out
Right.
of Paige and Jade. Like, Paige working on a car and Jade sitting on the car with an umbrella above her. Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah. And so this all kind of culminated in the final official reveal in 2018 in a very awesome trailer.
Ooh.
But there's not much known about it. In fact, things we do know seem kind of contradictory, in my opinion. It said that it is a prequel. However, the trailer feels like a sequel.
Okay. Well, how old is Jade? First of all, is she even in the story?
She is in the trailer. She is an antagonist in the trailer, which is what makes me feel like it's a sequel.
Yeah, I don't think that makes it a prequel unless she was an antagonist at age 5 or something.
Yeah, she looks her age or older.
Oh, wow.
So maybe they're doing a split where it's half prequel, half like whatever.
Or
but
she's cloned?
I don't know. So I suppose we'll see what happens when that game comes out. Michel Ancel was working on it. However, he recently left the games industry to focus on his new passion, wildlife conservation, and working for a wildlife sanctuary.
I can't get mad at that because that's a very worthy cause.
But it is kind of funny to hear that now, given like how much of the game is about cataloging the species and wildlife during a time of war as a form of preservation.
I know, and then and you're treating animals like people. Heck, you even named one of the most important ships to the plot, Beluga.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm not surprised. Good enough for you, Michelle.
So that's where we're going to end it. We will obviously be back at this some point when
the new game
comes out.
And we figure out whether or not, okay, so you think that it's a sequel, but what if Jade is like a reincarnation or a clone of,
that's fair.
No,
because Paige is in the trailer too.
Yeah, but Paige is older.
Yeah, fair. We should watch a trailer later.
Okay, yeah. I'll have to have some opinions for the live stream. So if you want to follow the live stream, you got to get on our Patreon, which is at patreon.com/loretogether. So essentially, the Thursday after this show is released, we'll have the live stream going at 7 o'clock Central Time. But you can see that and also all of our past live streams on our Patreon, as well as early releases of episodes and mini episodes and other stuff that I'm totally spacing out on right now.
So am I. We have a newborn. I'm tired.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
But I do kind of have a plan for what I'm going to do next episode as well.
Ooh.
I guess I can kind of tease that as, how can I tie these together? It is another series that has a long gap between games and is going to have a new one coming out soon.
Okay.
So if anyone guesses based off that information...
Oh, well, tweet us at Lore Together and let us know what you think that is.
And if anyone's right, I may do something like gift them a copy of something. So.
Ooh. Or you can send that guest to lordtogether@gmail.com.
All right, we're going to end it there. Thank you for listening, guys.
Thank you so much. We love it when you listen. Have a fantastic day, week, month, whatever the heck.
Bye.
Bye.